Sangiovese Lambrusco, Sangiovese Lambrusco,
Aglianico, Albana, Arnese, Barbera, Canaiolo, Cannonau, Carricante, Cesanese, Cortese,
Cortese,
Corvina,
Corvina,
Croatina,
Croatina,
Dolcetto.
Dolcetto.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. My name is Joy Livingston, and for the next several weeks I will be bringing you some choice narrated content from the book Sangiovese Lambrusco and Other Vine Stories, written by Mr. Science himself, Professor Attilio Scienza and Serena Imazio, published by positivepress.net. To get a copy of the book, the Kindle version is available on Amazon and hardcover copies are available from Positive Press. If you like the content we share each week, consider donating to our show. Find details at italianwinepodcast.com or on our social media channels. Sit back and get your geek on as we jump into the details, stories, and science of Italian wines and vines. Chapter 7. The Contested Son. Sangiovese. Searching for origins. Sangiovese is depicted in a famous painting of the late 17th century by Bartolomeo Bimbi, a Florentine painter, by the name of San Gioietto, while Cosimo Trinci, the Tuscan agronomist, speaks of San Zovetto as a most beautiful quality grape. Each year it is infinitely abundant. 1726. Sangiovese is also cultivated in Corsica under the name of Nieluccio and has recently been found in Algeria with the local name of Lactari. It was in 2002 that we began to talk about the parents of Sangiovese, and to this day the discussion is still going on. The first goal was to identify a first-degree kinship with Ciliegiolo, but without clarifying which variety generated the other. This opens the hunt for the missing link, which is essential to resolve the parent-child trio. Finding this vine, however, has proven to be a more difficult task than expected due to excess of candidates. In 2007, the initial theory proposed was Sangiovese could be the son of Ciliegiolo and Calabrese di Montenuovo, a variety identified in Montenuovo in the province of Naples, where it was imported by the Strigari family, originally from the Albanian enclave of Calabria, and it arrived in the Phlegraean fields in the first half of the 19th century. The satisfaction over this discovery, however, was short-lived, because an in-depth study also carried out in 2007 on the largest and most prestigious collection of vine varieties in the world, in Vassal, Montpellier, France, completely overturned that idea and identified Sangiovese not as a son, but as the parent of Ciliegiolo, together with Muscat Rouge de Madère or Moscato Violetto. This second proposal had greater support, also because the parents of the Muscat Rouge de Madère was also identified and do not contradict this theory. And moreover, Ciliegiolo appears in the literature long after Sangiovese, in 1932 against 1590 of the second. In 2010, with the 2007 hypothesis still in vogue, the results of a further study on the collection of varieties by the Institute of Conegliano came out, confirming the work of the French group. But we are still a long way from reaching a definitive conclusion. In 2012, another group of researchers, although not excluding definitively the previous hypotheses, identified another possible trio. Sangiovese could be the son of Ciliegiolo and Negro Dolce, an old local variety from the province of Foggia. The case remains unresolved to this day. The numerous offspring of a contested son. Whereas its ancestry remains an unanswered question, what has been discovered is that Sangiovese has progeny scattered over a rather large area. The first-degree kinship, parent-son, concerns not only the minor vines of Tuscany, as was foreseeable on the basis of its geographical spread, a couple of Morellini, the Vernaccia del Valdarno, and the Roundleaf, but above all the well-known varieties of southern Italy such as Gaglioppo di Calabria, Perricone, Frappato, Nerello Mascalese, and other minor varieties in Sicily. Even more surprising was to discover that the Apulian Negro Dolce corresponds to the Morellino del Valdarno located in Tuscany. In this way, the plot thickens and the puzzle becomes even more complex. Orsara, in the province of Foggia, is at the crossroads of three regions, Campania, Puglia, and Basilicata. In the territory of the Dauni Mountains, its history is thousands of years old, with evidence of Neolithic settlements and abbeys and farmhouses, a legacy of Roman and Longobard times. Here, beginning with a vine of the same name, there is a Tucanese wine produced whose DNA was found to be consistent with Sangiovese. The Tucanese denomination was used to define not only Sangiovese but also related varieties. The CREA, Council for Research in Agriculture and Agricultural Economics, in Turi, Bari, has preserved a vine called Tucanese, which was related to the first degree with Sangiovese, and that probably could be one of the many descendants. Despite numerous attempts to go unnoticed, genetics and molecular biology have managed to track down Sangiovese even where there were no suspects. For example, in Calabria, in some old, almost abandoned vineyards, some strains have been identified, such as Calabrian Negrello, Vigna del Conte, Corinta Nera, whose DNA corresponds to that of Sangiovese. The overlap with Corinta Nera allows us to investigate the case of the cultivation of a vine of the same name without seeds grown in the Aeolian Islands. Corinta Nera was used in blending with Malvasia of Leipzig. Corinta Nera has a Greek name, the Corintiaki. Although synonymy has never been verified, it was always imagined that the two varieties were the same thing. In fact, Corinto Aeoliano turned out to be a variant of Sangiovese that lost in part the ability to develop seeds. This is not an isolated case. Similar variants have recently been identified in other varieties, including Heunisch Weiss, which was discussed in Chapter 3. We can imagine that the exchange of identity between Sangiovese Corinto Nero was a mistake, because the latter is notoriously characterized by clusters with grapes of very small size and unable to produce seeds. Historically, the name of this variety in the Aeolian Islands is Minutera, or Passolina, with reference to the small size of the berries and their use as raisins, whose trade was particularly profitable. The correspondence of the Black Aeolian Corinth with Sangiovese was particularly difficult to imagine, also because it does not appear that the latter has ever been cultivated on the Sicilian archipelago islands. In 2014, De Laurentiis and colleagues, in a survey of Sicilian varietal heritage carried out through DNA analysis, identified Sangiovese under the curious name of Cella Cella in Palermitano and Di Preventivo in Messina. In addition, recent studies by Branzanti and colleagues in 2010 show that Sangiovese and Ciliegiolo are widely present in ancient vineyards of the Etna area, but without being recognized as such. In fact, they are mixed and confused with Nerello Cappuccio and several other plants whose identity has yet to be ascertained. The amount of information coming from the molecular investigations, mostly unexpected, opens up a rightful reflection of the origins of Sangiovese. There is a concordance of origins. Many of the vines related to Sangiovese come from the southern part of Italy. It pushes us to look at this area as the possible cradle from which it would then have moved to Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna. Another clue. Sangiovese is sometimes called Calabrese in some areas of Tuscany. Thank you for listening to this week's installment of Sangiovese, Lambrusco, and Other Vine Stories. We hope you expanded your horizons and gave your brain cells an Italian wine workout. We'll see you again next Thursday, and remember, the Kindle version of the book is available on Amazon, and hardcover copies are available from positivepress.net. If you feel inspired to make a donation to our show, please visit us at theitalianwinepodcast.com. Find Italian Wine Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Our Twitter handle is @ItaWinePodcast.
Sangiovese, Scioppettino, Teratego, Timorasso, Tintiglia, Refosco dal Peduncolo Rosso, Sagrantino, Schiava Gentile, Verdicchio, Vermentino, Vernaccia, Uva di Troia.
Perché alla fine vuoi